Okay, welcome to Better Developer Docs. In this video, I'm going to start the first topic of the beginner level tour of WordPress in the WordPress 101 and customization guide. So in this particular video, we're going to talk about how to get your WordPress site live and on the internet. So you're going to need to set up a few accounts and make a few purchases in order to get this up and running. The first thing that you're going to want to do is find I say first thing, it's not strictly the first thing. You can set this up later. However, most people would just do this first. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to get a domain name, aka URL. Looks something like this, yoursite.com or yoursite.org or whatever. There are a few different companies to buy this off. I use one called Namecheap.com. However, you can use whichever one you like. They all operate in the same way. You can even buy these off your hosts, which we'll cover in the next step. But yeah, I use Namecheap.com. And so you can just go on here and you can just type Alabaster t-shirts.com. Type in whatever you want. And then it's going to come up with your URL up here. It's going to say it's available if it's available, and it will tell you that it's not if it isn't. This one is about $10 or $9.50 a year. So we go ahead and pay that or buy that. It will give you some alternatives. You could also change this to be like .org or whatever, whichever one you're interested in. These domain names, you rent these. You don't actually purchase them long term. So just be aware of that. Once you add it to the cart, you can pay for however many months or years. Normally you'd buy it for like 1 to 3 years or something like that, or however many years you think is appropriate. So yeah, go and get a domain name, and then once you're set up with that, come back to the next step, and that is to get a hosting account. And we'll come back to your domain name. Your domain name and your hosting account are going to be linked together, and we'll get to doing that in a latter part of these videos. So yeah, you need a hosting account. All websites need a hosting account. That's how the infrastructure of the web works. So you're going to need one somewhere. Just like buying a domain name, there are very many different kinds of hosting companies that sell or, let's say, rent server computer space to you, the customer, to house your WordPress software. And yeah, you can use a bunch of different services. I want to talk, when it comes to WordPress, I want to talk specifically about the landscape of WordPress hosting because it's a little bit confusing. The short story is it's better to use a third-party host rather than WordPress.com or WordPress.org. And I'm going to run through why that is now. Most people, WordPress is actually a free open source piece of software. And most people come to, many people come to WordPress not understanding that, and they come to WordPress.com and they think, oh, this is a private company that is asking me to pay for their piece of software. Okay, no problem. I'll go ahead and sign up and start to use WordPress. These are the different plans that they have here. The thing is that the WordPress software is free. However, WordPress.com is a private enterprise which uses the free WordPress software to create a paid product. And so there's a little misunderstanding for newbies into the space, where they think that they need to use WordPress.com and it's the only way that you can use WordPress, which is not true. And actually, if you go into the Reddit WordPress group, you will find a lot of people complaining about WordPress.com. So the thing about them is that they are quite sort of restrictive, based on the pricing of the things and functionality that you'll use in your website. So, for example, if you go over a certain amount of storage, they're going to ping you for that. If you want to add a particular functionality, they're going to ping you for that. And you don't need to pay all those things, all those little, little bits that they add on in order to use the free WordPress software. So just be aware of that. You don't have to pay as much as these guys are going to charge you. The next thing is WordPress.org. So WordPress.org is the actual website where you could go to download the free software, and you can download it here straight away, and use it that way if you wanted to, or you could actually go and get a hosting account with one of the recommended hosts. And these are what's known as third-party hosts. So there's a whole giant list of them here. And the thing about these third-party hosts is that you'd take the free WordPress.org software, right? And then you would install it on one of these host servers and then start to use it that way. You would have to pay for these third-party hosts. However, they're not as restrictive as WordPress.com in relation to how they will sort of treat their sort of billing and stuff like that. So it's much better to use a third-party host. There's a list of them here. These are some popular ones. I actually do use Bluehost, and so I have a guide here, which I'll put a link to down below, for sort of taking you through all the different accounts that Bluehost have, and sort of getting you to the right hosting package for you based on your budget and also your skill level when it comes to running a WordPress site. Some people, especially newbies, are less interested in actually the server setup and the server admin side of it, and so there's more sort of specific hosting packages that they have to cater for that. Basically, it means that you'll do less of that work and pay a little bit more, or they actually have super cheap hosting that doesn't hold your hand for that process. And so if you're a developer or an aspiring developer, or if you just want to learn server admin stuff, you can pay less and do some of that stuff yourself. So yeah, link down below for a description of how to go about choosing the best one. But yeah, obviously there's DreamHost, there's SiteGround. All of these are going to be able to act as good third-party hosts for you. So just shop around and see which one you like. Okay, so now that brings us to the next thing that you're going to need to get your site on, your WordPress site on the internet. You're going to need to install a copy of the free WordPress software, i.e. represented by WordPress.org, on one of these third-party hosts. So you can actually do that in a couple of different ways. The easiest way is that once you have got an account here, or actually in the case of Bluehost, once you're, and probably these other ones as well, while you're in the account generation process, they will actually install a copy of WordPress for you that goes along with the domain name that you bought, alabastertshirts.org. which is a stupid name. And so by getting a Bluehost account, for example, you will also get a copy of the WordPress software installed on Bluehost in this case, along with your domain name, all ready to go. And at that point, you will then be live and on the web, and from there you can then start to add content, create pages, do design, add functionality, all the rest of the stuff. But yeah, that is how you get your WordPress site live and on the internet.